In this video, we're going to look at how to use SQLModel to retrieve data from a database, and then we're going to see how to display it using rich. But first, let's add a couple more events to the database. So say Python main.py, add event. I'm going to call this past event, and you'll see why here in a minute. So we'll just make this New Year's Day. And this will not be private, and then I'm going to, call that again, and I'll make a private event, and then we'll make this one 2025-0303, and it will be private. And we can take a look inside of the database, and there are our events. Okay. Let's go into main.py and let's create a new command called show events. So app.command def show events. And for now, this is not going to have any arguments or options. I'm going to start off by getting all of the events that are in the database. Again, to interact with the database, need to get a session object. So we saw how to do that with session engine as session. Now I'm going to construct a query using functions from the SQLModel API. And again, this often mimics the SQLAlchemy API. And there is a select function in both of them. So I'm going to need to go up here and import that select function from the SQLModel module. Now I'm going to say events are actually, let's do it like this. Let's say query equals select event. And that's basically saying select star from events. Now I can further go through and say order by, because we want these to be in chronological order. Then I'm going to, by event.timestamp, and then ascending. Then what I need to do is I need to get the events, I need to execute that query on the session. And then to retrieve the results, call all. That'll get all of the results. Now I can iterate over the events like in a list. For event in events, we choose the console and we'll print out the title. Right? So if I go down here, look at my help. There are two M's in command. There we go, there's show events. And there we go, there are our events. Now this works, but it's not very helpful, it's not very pretty, and we can make it look a lot better with the help of tables inside of rich. So let's go back up here to the top, and from rich.table import table. Now go back down to the command, and I'll get rid of this, and I'll create a new event table. It'll be a table. The table can have a title. Call it events, and we'll tell it that we do want to show a header. And then I'm going to add columns. So I'll add 3 columns. Event table dot add column. The first one will be for the title, and then I'll just copy these down twice. Days remaining. I'm not going to show the timestamp. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show how many days there are remaining to the event, or for an event in the past since the event, and because this is a countdown app. And then another column for private. Now, for each event, in events, first thing I need to do is I need to calculate how many days there are between the event timestamp and today. So I'll call that days remaining. And that'll be event.timestamp minus datetime.date.today. That's going to return a time delta, which will have a days attribute on it, which is the value that I want. And then I can add a new row to the table. Now, all of these values are actually, that should be an event table. Now, all of these values have to be strings. So the first one we don't have to worry about because the title is a string. However, the second one is an integer. So I'll create an F string and I'll days remaining. And then I'll use a ternary. Yes, if event dot private, else no. And now the only thing left to do is use the console to print the table. Okay, let's see how it works. There we go. So we can see the title up here. These are the headers for the columns. And notice that the Boolean is printed as yes or no, not the 0 or 1 that SQLite stores. And here we have the days remaining. So that's enough for this particular video. In the next video, we'll see how to use options to filter data.